The second trailer for Percy Jackson Season 2 has just dropped, and my goodness, it looks incredible. Welcome to Movie Flame. I'm Morgan Ross, and today I'm going to take you through this trailer shot by shot, go over Easter eggs, theorize on plot points, and just give my 2 cents as we go. After watching this trailer, it's very clear that Rick Riordan, the author of the original book series and a key writer and producer of this show, is taking full advantage to add loads of scenes that weren't in the book, change up character plot lines pretty drastically, and it looks like we're getting a season that strays pretty heavily from the original book. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave it up to you, but I'll point out all of these differences as we go. Now, let's break this trailer down. The trailer starts off with 2 shots of Percy as he talks about having nightmares. I believe the second shot is him at Camp Half-Blood, and this shot will be very important at the end of the trailer, so remember it. As for the location of the second shot, looking at a later shot in the trailer, we see Kronos busting a door open into a place that has the exact same windows. So that means that this is most likely one of the nightmares that Percy was referring to. His voiceover says that he has dreams that tell him the future, and we hear Grover saying Percy's name in an echo tone.
You guys get nightmares, right? I usually get ones that tell me the future. Percy.
This is interesting because in the Sea of Monsters book, when Percy dreams about Grover, these dreams aren't in the future but are in real time. And they're in real time because Grover created an empathy link between the two. And this is really hard to do and pretty risky because if one of them dies, the other either dies as well or is sent into a vegetative state. Also, the shots that show Grover being pulled down by the tentacle is a new scene that was not in the book. This season is expanding on characters outside of Percy's point of view, and this includes Grover and also Clarice. So this scene with Grover wasn't actually the dream that Percy was having the way the trailer made it seem. This is just a scene from later in the season. In the book, the dream that Percy had about Grover was Grover running away from the Cyclops Polyphemus, and it looks like we probably aren't going to get anything close to that. Also, behind Grover is a shot of a new character made just for the show, and who was not in the book, named Allison Sims. We got a quick description of her in an article from a few months ago, which says, she's a Camp Half-Blood graduate who lives in the human world, but is a true believer in the world that Kronos is promising and aligns herself with Luke. So her chasing Grover clearly points to the fact that some of Luke's army hunted him down while he was on his quest to find Pan. For the next 3 shots, we see Percy on the ground bracing himself, then one of the Laestrygonian giants swinging down at him, and a parallel shot of Luke doing the same thing. Now, the shot of Percy is him running from the Laestrygonian giants, which was the opening sequence in the book. We know this because he is wearing a Merryweather Prep School uniform, and that is actually where the giants attacked him in the book. And more specifically, they did it in gym class while playing dodgeball. It appears they're going to change the location of this to possibly right outside Camp Half-Blood. Also, from the last trailer, we know that this shot of Percy is where Tyson comes in to save him. And as for the third shot of Luke, we know from a previous trailer that this is actually him swinging a sword down on Percy right before a trident comes in to block him, which most likely belongs to Percy's father, Poseidon, who we see later in this trailer, which we'll get to soon. Then we see Percy waking up and falling out of bed from whatever nightmare he was having, and he is in the mortal world for this, more specifically in his mom's apartment. The dream he was having could be the one with Kronos that we went over earlier, but it could also be his dream about Grover being in trouble. Now, we need to take a second to appreciate and break down the set for Percy's bedroom, because they put so many awesome details into this. There's a poster for a live atomic demonstration, and it says Saturday, May 3rd and Sunday, May 4th, which lines up with this calendar year in 2025. He also has a dinosaur and dirt bike poster, some homework he's working on, which is most likely math given the calculator, plus a textbook next to a dirty bowl, and a textbook under his bed, which I feel like has some significance to ancient Greece or mythology, but it's a little too blurry to tell. On his desk, there's also what looks like a drawing of a building, which could be something to do with Annabeth, who was of course obsessed with anything to do with architecture. And one of my favorite details is the fidget spinner on the desk. All demigods of course have ADHD, which has to do with being hyper aware to make them better in battle. So having a fidget spinner is such a great touch. They are lifesavers if you have ADHD. Trust me, I know. I have so many of them around the house. He also has a telescope and 1 bike wheel for some reason, and also a sticky note on the window. And we see another sticky note in the next shot, this one on his desk, and it's actually labeled desk. In the shot, we also see a diagram of planets. He also has another poster, this time of a skateboarder, plus a picture of a building with columns, which could be a picture of Annabeth in front of the Lincoln Memorial, which is something straight out of the book that she sent him there. Down here, you can see a picture of Grover, which we get a better look at later in the trailer. This looks like a postcard that Grover sent Percy while he was abroad searching for the god Pan, as he had just gotten his searcher's license. Next to him is an X written in broken crossbones, which might foreshadow the danger that Grover is in. Percy is wearing his Camp Half-Blood necklace, and now that he has completed one summer, he has one bead to represent that. We also hear him say,
My name is Percy Jackson.
which is one of the first lines from season 1 as well.
My name is Percy Jackson.
Also, comparing these two lines, you can really tell how much deeper Walker Scobell's voice got. Puberty, man. After that, we get a shot of the Gray sisters' taxi skirting the hell out of those tires. And we get a scene with Annabeth and Percy outside of the car.
Didn't have the dream?
About Grover?
About camp.
Annabeth saying that she had a dream about camp means that she too had a dream about the future, which could be Camp Half-Blood being attacked. Now, seeing as Percy is wearing the Merryweather prep jacket here, I believe that the Laestrygonian giant scene won't be at the beginning like in the book, but it will be when they reach camp after riding in the taxi. Next, we see the aftermath of the chariot race between the campers, and judging from the next shot, this is after the Stymphalian birds attack them, which happens at the end of the chariot race. And it looks like we get Annabeth's reaction to this. Annabeth's armor has an owl on it, which refers to the owl of Athena, who was of course her godly mother. I also love the laurel wreath that's carved into the helmet. That was a great touch. Looking at the shots we get of the Stymphalian birds, they look amazing and terrifying. And honestly, so does this whole sequence. I can't wait to see the whole thing. Also, this statue depicts who I believe to be Demeter, who has often been depicted riding a chariot while being pulled by either winged dragons or serpents. We then see Mr. D as well as Tantalus, who replaced Chiron as camp director in the book. Chiron was blamed for Thalia's tree being poisoned, which we'll talk about in a second, but because of this, he was shipped off and replaced by Tantalus. And just a quick background on Tantalus, he was punished by the gods, never being allowed to eat food again. Jeez, that's rough. Mr. D tells Percy and Annabeth how much danger the camp is under.
The danger the camp is under is greater than you can possibly imagine.
And this is probably referring to the barrier protection around the camp being gone, which happened when Thalia's tree was poisoned. After that, there's a shot of one of the Laestrygonian giants throwing a fireball, which then explodes with lightning when it hits the trees. Following that, we get Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson in the Gray sisters' taxi, and they ask if they know where Grover is.
What about Grover? You know where he is?
It then cuts to a shot of Grover in a rainforest by himself, which is for sure part of the scene where he gets chased and taken by the tentacle. We then see our first look of the Gray sisters, and they did an amazing job with their makeup. And this then leads to a very funny bit of dialogue.
They only have one eye.
Look who's talking.
Also, I love the choice of making their one eye purple. It's also worth mentioning that this is the first line of dialogue that we hear Tyson speak, and I cannot wait to see more of Daniel Diemer taking on this role. I also have to point out their jukebox, which as you can see was part of a brand called Wurlitzer, a real life company that's been around for over a century and was a big manufacturer of the original jukeboxes, which is pretty cool. They also show the old box where you pay your fare, and they're dropping in what I think is a golden drachma, which is the currency used in the world of gods. As we get another exterior of the taxi, you can read on the side of the car that it says Gray Sisters Taxi. Now in the book, they go straight from New York to Camp Half-Blood in the taxi, and when they get to the camp, Clarice and the rest of the demigods are being overrun by metal bulls. But it doesn't look like this sequence will be in the show at all. Instead, it looks like they're going to arrive to see Luke Castellan himself stabbing Thalia's tree, which would then poison it, and is what I mentioned earlier in the video. This was something that happened off screen, or I guess off page in the books. In the novel, we just heard about Luke doing this, so it's going to be interesting to actually have this trio find Luke at the scene of the crime.
I'll see you out there.
We get a great shot of Luke's scar on his face, which he got on the quest given to him by his father, and that resulted in receiving this injury from the dragon Ladin, thus leading to him failing this quest, and that's a big reason why he turned on the camp and all of the gods to join Kronos. He then flies away on a black Pegasus, and this is actually Blackjack, the Pegasus that Percy would eventually befriend after saving him from Luke's cruise ship, the Princess Andromeda. So clearly, Luke is actually using blackjack himself, which is a new and very intriguing detail to add. After that, we see Annabeth distraught about Thalia being poisoned,
Luke poisoned her.
which is fitting seeing as she was there when Thalia was put in this state. Thalia had sacrificed herself to save Annabeth, Luke, and Grover, and her father Zeus then spared her life by turning her into a tree before she was killed. In the next sequence, Percy talks about the barrier being gone when Thalia's tree is compromised.
If the tree falls, the barrier falls, and camp will be open to any attack.
And we then get some shots which take place right before Luke stabbed the tree, as the Laestrygonian giants are blocked from coming into the camp because Thalia's protection was still up. And we also see Tyson get thrown back when trying to enter camp, because he's technically a monster himself, being a Cyclops. In the novel, Annabeth had given him verbal permission to come in, which she only did so he could save Percy from the bulls. Seeing as there are no bulls, and looking at Percy in this shot, I'm sure that he will be the one to give the verbal permission here. And then there are some more shots of the giants chasing Percy and Annabeth in the woods. There's then the sequence of Luke and his army attacking the camp in the fog. And this goes along with another shot that we saw in the first season 2 trailer. You can see Luke's sword glowing, which is his signature sword, Backbiter, and this is half celestial bronze and half steel, meaning it can kill both demigods and mortals. I think this attack is a moment that was not in the book and will actually take place at the end of the season. I think that Percy is going to escape with the Golden Fleece from the Princess Andromeda, and Luke is going to follow him to camp, thus leading to this giant attack in battle. There's then a sequence of shots that show Grover being kidnapped.
Save Grover. Percy, you gotta find him!
We then see Grover tied up, most likely in the cave of Polyphemus, who by the way, we get a shot of right after that. He's on his island and holding a giant shepherd's stick, which he uses to herd his giant flesh-eating sheep. We then get even more shots of the Laestrygonian giants chasing the trio into the woods. And a little later, there's a shot of Percy during the sequence, this time holding his sword Riptide. Tantalus then has a dramatic line of dialogue as he sets the quest this book is based around.
For the key to our survival, you must quest to the Sea of Monsters.
Also, his face might be cut up like that from the Stymphalian birds when they attack during the chariot race. Some quick shots then appear, as we see Clarice getting weapons, getting ready for the quest that Tantalus assigned her. The shot of Tyson in the fire is probably when the CSS Birmingham, the ship that Clarice's father gave her, exploded. In the book, Tyson tried to stop it from blowing up as long as he could, but ultimately, he could not hold on any longer. Then we see a badass shot of Clarice and Annabeth getting ready to fight on Luke's cruise ship, the Princess Andromeda. And this looks like it will be an added scene that wasn't in the book, because I don't think that Clarice was ever on the cruise ship with this trio. And this is topped off with a picture of a map which depicts the Sea of Monsters, and it shows either Scylla or Charybdis, both monsters that guard this deadly place. The map shows that this is in Sargasso. Sargosso? I don't know, however you say it. And it also shows where this is in relation to America, as we see Jacksonville in Florida and Savannah in Georgia. There's another shot of Percy in the big house at camp, and I'm not sure where this would fall in the timeline, but he has dirt all over his face, so clearly he just did something of note. After that is a shot of the CSS Birmingham and then Clarice driving it. The look of determination, worry, and possibly fear on her face is noteworthy because we know how much pressure her father Ares was putting on her for this quest. We also see the army that came with the ship, who are all dead soldiers who owed tribute to Ares for losing in battle. The show is actually changing this army from the book though. In the book, the army was all Confederate soldiers. And here's a quote I found about this. But the show updates that problematic depiction by expanding the crew to all armies that have been defeated in battle and owe a debt to the service of Ares. And Dior, who plays Clarice, said that this was a very tasteful improvement to Clarice's crew. Going back to this shot, you can see there is a Confederate soldier in the front, but we also have a Revolutionary War soldier here, and what looks like an old school naval sailor back here. There's then a sequence of shots that show when they encounter Scylla and Charybdis in the Sea of Monsters. Clarice jumps down, Annabeth looks up in fear, Percy looks up in fear, and we see the monster in the rocks with many arms. And to be honest, it's not what I thought it would look like, but I kinda dig it. Percy then gets a determined look on his face, the dead soldiers load a cannon, and Clarice fires that thing like crazy. Then the boat is in insane waves. And now, prepare yourself. We get our first look of Thalia Grace, played by Tamara Smart, who I honestly cannot wait to see in this role. I'm assuming this is a flashback to when Annabeth, Grover, and Luke tried to make it to camp and she didn't make it. She's wearing the leather jacket that her character is so synonymous with. Plus she has her shield Aegis, which has Medusa's face on it. She also has her spear, which she can channel lightning through thanks to the power her father Zeus gave her. We see two men coming toward her, which could be any number of people or monsters while she was on the run. Then we have another amazing sequence of shots as we see Annabeth and Percy on a sailboat, most likely leaving Circe's island, and we actually see the sirens going after Annabeth. This looks awesome, but is very different than the book sequence. The show makes them be these volcanic stones, plus they have Annabeth actually on the island with them. But how this went in the book is that Annabeth is lured to the sirens and tries to swim to get to them, but Percy stops her before she actually reaches the island. In the book, Percy also sees an image of what the sirens show her, and this is her mother and father at a picnic, with Luke there as well, but before he went bad. So we'll see if we get any of this in the show, but it doesn't look like it. And just me speculating, this could be a deliberate change, because they really stepped away from Annabeth liking Luke. And I think this is because in the final book, Luke sort of says that he felt the same way about Annabeth. And this is weird because he was way older than Annabeth and always saw her as a young child. I think Rick might have seen the complications with that, and so he decided to remove that aspect. But again, that's just me speculating. After that, we see Percy giving a speech to everyone in the big house.
They take care of each other. That's what real heroes do.
And judging from his outfit, as well as those around him being in armor, I think this is right after he escapes the cruise ship with the fleece, and right before Luke arrives to attack camp. So I think this is them preparing to fight. Though they made it seem like this was part of Luke's attack, this shot of Percy was actually a totally different scene. This scene is actually another added scene where Percy and Clarice fight while on the quest. After that, I'm excited that we see Circe, meaning we're going to get the sequence where Percy and Annabeth go to her island. In the book, she ran a beauty salon here, which is where she appears to be in this shot. Then any man that appeared on her island, she used magic to turn them into a guinea pig. And we actually see Percy as a guinea pig in the following shot, which honestly I did not expect to see in this trailer. We then see another shot of Polyphemus as he swings his shepherd's cane, and this gives us a good look at his one eye, which was of course damaged by Odysseus, which is a classic mythology tale. Clarice and her father Ares then appear in the next shot, which I'm guessing is when Ares gives Clarice her ship. We see a door get blasted off in the next shot, and I believe that this is at the bottom of the Princess Andromeda while they have the Golden Fleece, because we see this shot pretty much continue a few frames later in the trailer. After that, we get a look at the sarcophagus of Kronos, and honestly, it looks amazing. I love the gold lines on the black stone. This is most likely on the cruise ship with Luke because that's where it was in the book. And just to give some background, in the book, every time a demigod renounced the gods to follow Kronos, a piece of Kronos would appear in the sarcophagus, making him closer to coming back. And as we see this, we get a quote as he says to kill Percy.
Kill the son of Poseidon.
We then get a shot of Luke, and based on other shots from previous trailers, I think this is where him and Percy have their fight on the cruise ship as they battle for the Golden Fleece. We then see Percy and Tyson having a grand old time during the chariot race at Camp Half-Blood, which includes Tyson taking someone down. Sorry. After that, we get Luke sending his army into Camp Half-Blood as he points Backbiter. Then we get Percy locked in during the battle, and we see the two of them fighting one-on-one. And in the background, you can see a large black kid in what looks like Hephaestus armor, which I think might be Charles Beckendorf, the head of the Hephaestus cabin and one of the most badass characters in the books. That would be really cool if they added him to the series this early. Then we see Luke absolutely KOing Percy. You can also see Clarice in the background, and she's not wearing armor, which is interesting. So Clarice not being in armor is something to take note of, because does that mean that she doesn't want to fight? I'll also take this moment to mention that in the book, the Golden Fleece was handled very differently. Percy and Luke do fight on the Princess Andromeda, but it's not over the fleece. The fleece wasn't even on the ship because Percy sent it back with Clarice, ensuring that she could fulfill the quest she was given and take the Golden Fleece to Camp Half-Blood. And this also ensured that Luke did not get it himself, which he would have used to bring Kronos back. After that, we get some crazy shots. First, we see Hermes, who we met in season 1, as he appears to be talking to his son Luke, saying that he couldn't give up on family.
can't give up on your family.
It then cuts to Percy hugging his mother, and it looks like this takes place before the final battle based on what Percy's wearing. It's great to see them expanding on Sally Jackson's role once again, just like they did in season 1. They make her a much more prominent character in the series, and I love this because I think Virginia Cole is amazing in this role. Then, remember the first shot of the trailer that I told you to remember? Yeah, well, this is where it comes back into play. We see Percy be greeted by his father Poseidon as he tells Percy not to underestimate himself.
Perseus, don't underestimate yourself.
And this was not a moment in the book, so this is yet another scene added. After that, we get an insane sequence as Percy makes his way to the front of the CSS Birmingham as loads of Clarice's dead soldiers fly overboard. He then goes next level, lifting their ship out of what is most likely the Sea of Monsters, which shows just how powerful Percy is. And as he does this, he says he isn't going to let monsters get in his way.
I'm not gonna let some stupid monsters stand in my way.
Meaning he might be lifting them over Scylla and Charybdis. Like, wow, what a way to end this trailer. Making this video got me so much more hype for season 2. I'm really excited. As I went over extensively in this video, there are going to be a lot of changes from book to screen. And honestly, I'm not mad about it. The Sea of Monsters is actually my least favorite book in the series, so changing it up intrigues me a bit, especially when I know that Rick Riordan himself is the man making these changes, plus all of the additions. And I'm absolutely stoked to see that ending battle that they're adding. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you excited to see these changes, or did you want them to stick closer to the novel? By the way, I've made all sorts of Percy Jackson content on this channel, like this video that has to do with lore in the Percy Jackson series, plus this playlist of all the videos to do with the Disney Plus show. That's all I have for you guys in this video though. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.